Hello, everyone, and welcome to Robin's Reading Nest, where birds of a feather read together. Now, if you are new here, please go check out my BookTube newbie video, which is the very first video that I posted on my channel. And that will give you a backstory of why I decided to do a BookTube. It'll also give you an idea of the types of books that I like, the genres and books I have read so far. And speaking of genres, I'm not really a romance type of girl. For the last year, I've kind of gotten into mysteries and thrillers. But this book, which is a romance book, has been popping up everywhere. Like you can't get on TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook, Twitter without someone holding up the copy of this book. And that book is Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. Now, when I tell you this book is perfection, like you can relate to the characters. I personally related to the story between Yasmen and Josiah, and it is just it will put you into your emotions. It'll have you feeling a certain type of way. Um, and also, Kennedy Ryan puts a trigger warning in the beginning of the book explaining that some of the themes are a little hard and you may have to put the book down and process. And I agree because there were a couple of things that were similar to a situation that I had with the loss of a family member. And I really did have to put my book away and process. And I also had to think back to that exact moment in time when that situation happened. And they always say that it gets easier, but it doesn't. It just hurts less. And I'll go into detail about that later. But let's see. Yasmin and Josiah are two main characters. And according to the characters in the book, they are what a lot of people would call relationship goals. They seem to have this perfect life. They own a restaurant together. They've got two beautiful kids, a beautiful home in the new neighborhood. And they're just what everyone else aspires to be. Their love looks everlasting and just a beautiful love story. But the loss of two family members causes a breakdown in the marriage. Whereas Josiah seems to be the one, holding everything together and trying to run the restaurant by himself and keep the bills paid at home. It seems that Yasmin is descending into a hopelessness that she can't seem to shake. And with both of them resenting each other, Yasmin decides that divorce would be the best thing for the both of them. So the book starts fast forwarding 2 years later, and everything seems to have worked itself out. They still have the restaurant, they still have their home, the kids have grown, but Yasmin starts to have those old feelings again for Josiah. And what she doesn't realize is that Josiah seems to have moved on. And so then you wonder, will they ever get back together? So let's talk about our characters. Let's start with Yasmin. Yasmin Wade is the ex-wife to Josiah Wade, mother to Kasim and Deja. She is also the co-owner of Grits, which is a restaurant in the neighborhood where Yasmin is very active in the community. She was going through a hard time when she lost Josiah's aunt, his Aunt Bird. Josiah's aunt was like a mother to the both of them, and her loss was a very big blow for a lot of their friends. And then the loss of a son, which happened a couple of weeks after the loss of Aunt Bird, is what kind of made Yasmin check out. Josiah Wade, he lost his parents at an early age and was raised by Aunt Bird. And he has what we would call BDE. If you know, you know. He is kind of, I wouldn't say exactly an alpha male because, alpha male can have somewhat of a negative connotation to it. But I would say he was deemed the protector and the leader of his family. And when Yasmin asked for the divorce, it kind of knocked the wind out of his sails because he really and truly loved Yasmin and he did not want to have this divorce at all. Surprisingly enough, even though he moved out of the home, he literally lives, two streets over. So he's not that far away. He has started dating um, one of the employees at the restaurant, and Yasmin is doesn't know about that at the moment. Okay. Also, we have Kasim, which is Yasmin and Josiah's 10-year-old son. He's a fifth grader and he is a mama's boy. He loves Yasmin with all his heart. And they have a 13-year-old daughter by the name of Deja, who is in middle school. And Deja would like to be a natural hair influencer. And she's really good at doing hair and she wants to make a career out of it. But, teenage angst, she is really upset with Yasmin. Like, Yasmin can say one word and Deja has the back talk, or she says things that are inappropriate to her mom. And so usually when Josiah is around, he corrects Deja and tells her, hey, look, don't do that. That's your mom. Don't talk to her that way. And, as they always said, if a child is acting out, it's because something has happened. And in this case, we can always assume that the divorce played a big role in Deja's attitude. Next, we have Hendrix, who is Yasmin's friend. She's a PR consultant who speaks her mind, and if she has something to say, she's going to say it. And the one thing that she speaks her mind about is that Yasmin and Josiah should get back together, and also that their friend Soledad's husband is a-hole, and that Soledad should leave him. Soledad is another one of the friends. She's a stay-at-home wife and mom. She has three girls, and she's pretty much the Martha Stewart of the group. She's a wonderful chef, and she seems to be the perfect mom. Another character is Vashti Burns, who is the executive chef of Grits. She has helped Josiah keep Grits afloat during Yasmin's absence, and now she is dating Josiah. The kids seem to love her a lot. Um, it's funny because whenever they ask Kasim what does he want to eat, he always says, "I want ribs. I want ribs." And ribs is what is Vashti's signature dish. So while reading this book, there are moments where Yasmin catches herself looking at Josiah and she starts having these flashbacks of when they were married and when they were dating, and they are very hot and steamy flashbacks. And you just want to say to yourself, girl, tell him how you feel. But whenever they come in contact with each other, it's kind of just like cats and dogs, just rah rah. They're just always going at each other's throat. And you're saying to yourself, no, just talk it out, explain how you feel. And then we get to scenes where Josiah feels the same exact way about Yasmin. And you're just like, oh my God, are you two ever just going to get it together? Why must you guys fight like this? Just sit down and listen to each other. It gets on your nerves. And then when Josiah has scenes with Vashti, you're like, just get out of the way, you homewrecker. Even though you know they're not married anymore, you just want her to go away and just leave Josiah alone so that him and Yasmin can reconnect. It's they are just the couple that you are continually rooting for. But then when you realize that the loss that they both suffered was so great that they really needed time apart and they really needed therapy because the loss of a child is just something that's very hard to get over. And oh my gosh. So, trigger warning with this one too. I'll try not to go into too much detail because I don't want to be sitting here crying, making you sad during the book review. But I had a similar situation 16 years ago. Um, I was pregnant with my son, Kari, and there were complications during his birth. And after he was born, he ended up being life flighted to the NICU of a children's hospital. And we were getting conflicting information from the hospital that I was in and from the children's hospital that he was in. And at the time, my husband was in the military, and our two oldest children, they were in elementary school then. They were small children. And, I spent 3 days in the hospital trying to recover from emergency C-section. I was intubated. I was told that I basically left this world and that I was brought back and given lots and lots and lots of blood transfusions. And I can remember coming from under all of that anesthesia and stuff and asking questions like, well, how's my son? How's everything going? And the doctor was like, oh, I haven't talked to um, the NICU doctors at the other hospital, but as soon as I get information, I'll let you know. And one of the nurses, oh yeah, I talked to them. They said everything's going to be great. It's going to be a full recovery, but no one would exactly say what happened. Before they life flighted him, I got to glimpse him before they took him, and he was in all of these tubes and the incubator. It was crazy. So when I finally was discharged, and we went to the children's hospital, my son's Kari, his doctors were like, "Oh, he was without oxygen for so long. His umbilical cord was wrapped around his neck. He couldn't breathe." And so it's kind of 50-50. If he makes it, he will be a vegetable. But, we want to get you prepared and get you set up for hospice and all of this stuff. And you've got to understand, like, I was hearing what they were saying, but my mind I couldn't process it. And so, oh goodness, he survived um, for about 30 days. We were able to take him home, and when he passed away, you could, gosh, when he passed away, I don't think us as a family really dealt with it. Because like I said before, my husband was in the military and he was scheduled to go to Iraq. Oh my goodness, in February of 2008. Our son was born in January of 2008. And when they found out that our son passed, he kind of got a bereavement leave. And they were like, we'll let you stay because of your circumstances, but May of 2008, you're going to have to ship out. So he left in May, and from February to May, we didn't do counseling or anything. We just kind of kept moving. Um, when he left, the hospice gave me a year of grief counseling. And talking to somebody, it helped, but it's like putting a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. It'll stop some of the bleeding, but not all of it. And while my husband was out in Iraq, he said he did some grief counseling, with the chaplain. But as a couple, we didn't do any grief counseling. And when I look back on it, I regret it. I mean, I don't think it's too late to do it. I just think we would probably have time. Oh, and that sounds awful. We need to find a time to do it. Um, because that grief is a child. That grief is awful. Some days you wake up and you say, "Oh, I wonder what he would be like." And I think one of the things that I did, and my oldest son too, that we did without even realizing it, was that we used my nephew as our surrogate for Kari, because my nephew was born in October 2007. And so I think all of the love, expectations, and hope that we had for Kari, we put it into my nephew. And I didn't even realize that we did that until my sister told me. She was talking to her son, and I don't know. I can't remember what the exact conversation was. He asked her something, and she replied, "Yeah, Auntie sees you as more than a nephew. She sees you as her son because you and Kari were around the same age. And so every milestone that you have, she's extra excited for because it kind of gives her a glimpse into what Kari would have been like at that age." And my nephew is such a sweet child. Um, and I hate that it, I don't want to say he feels like he has to be that for me, but I don't want that to be his burden. I don't want that. I don't want him to have that expectation because, like I said, I didn't even realize that I was projecting that on him. Also, while dealing with that, my husband, he had the same issue as Josiah with dealing with the death. My husband lost his mother July of 2007. So there are so many parallels between my husband and I and Yasmen and Josiah that it's crazy. It's almost like Kennedy said, "Hey, Robin, we're going to write your story. We're going to change a few things, but I just want to let you know and give you a heads up that your story is being played out in this book." To be honest, I don't think my husband had counseling to deal with that. His mother was everything to him. And so think about it. You lose your mom July 2007. You lose your baby boy February 2008. Like, that's a lot of loss in a short amount of time that you have to process. And you have a job that you can't really take time off from, you know. So in some ways, yeah, my husband is, oh, he's the epitome of Josiah. Um, Grief is awful. It is. Some days you wake up and you can push through and it won't crush your mind. And then you can smell something or you can see something and all of those feelings roll back. And then here you are sitting in a corner, not wanting to talk to anybody or wanting to talk to somebody about all of the good memories. So yeah, that's my experience with it. I never really got into detail and told people other than my immediate family, my mom's sister, because it's so hard. the loss of a child is hard for anyone, and you don't just want to walk up to people and say, hey, let me tell you about, because that's so usually I don't tell people until I've really got to know them. So if you go on my Facebook, you'll see a lot of pictures of my other three kids. uh, and my baby girl. The crazy thing about it is, after I had my son, I was supposed to get my tubes tied. He was supposed to be the last child. I signed all the paperwork and nobody tied them. Nobody did anything. So I ended up having my last child, my daughter. Um, so like I said, I wouldn't say we are healed. I would say that we are getting by. Um, the one thing that I can say is that it didn't cause us to get a divorce. And I remember talking to a couple of people, and they were like, oh, you two have got to lean on each other, because this is this is a moment that can prove whether your relationship is strong enough. You're either going to work together and continue to parent and build your life, or you're going to let this tear you apart and you're not going to be together anymore. And we hope and pray that it makes your relationship stronger. Um, it was bumpy for a minute there, but overall, we're still together. We're holding on. But yeah, I can relate to everything in this book. Also, to give some advice, if you know someone that this has happened to, please, and they have other children, please don't tell them, oh, you've got to be there for your other kids. When you tell somebody that, you're basically downplaying the grief that they're going through and telling them to suck it up. Never, 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 never tell someone that, whether it's the loss of a child, a spouse, a mother, a sibling. Never tell somebody to just get over it. That is the worst thing you can ever tell someone. I had a family member to tell me that, and when I tell you, I'm still a little upset with that family member to this day. That is the worst thing you can tell someone. The worst thing you could tell someone. Please do not tell someone to just suck it up and get over it. That's awful. Instead, offer yourself to be a listening ear, a crying shoulder. Offer to help with the other kids. Do something, but don't criticize someone when they've got that grief, because that's only going to make that person resent you more. Uh, oh goodness, I didn't want this review to be this heavy, but I might have needed these tears. I think I needed this release. So yeah, mm, as I read the book and processed my emotions, I just wish that Josiah and Yasmin would just stop this back and forth. You can tell they love each other. You can tell they still want each other, but they just have to be bitter and one up each other. And I didn't like that. I know it was needed to move the story along. I just want to reach in and shake both of them and say, you've got something good, save it. Um, it was also a part where Yasmin went out on a date. The jealousy that Josiah felt was ironic and hilarious all at the same time. And you're like, now, wait a minute, now you got a whole relationship. But you just see that they were meant to be. There was even a scene where they went to go look at a new location for their second restaurant, and there's the trope of, oh, we're all out of rooms. You have to share a room, and you're thinking, yes, this is the moment that they are going to get back together. Um, but overall, Jesus, I probably already spoiled too much and added my own trauma. I apologize. Like I said, I think I needed that release. It's been a moment since I shed a few tears, but don't let that stop you from reading this book. It shed a lot of insight into grief and emotions that people thought that they pushed back and didn't have anymore. Because I'm quite sure Yasmin would have never thought that after she filed for divorce that she would want Josiah back as bad as she did. And with Josiah not wanting the divorce, I don't think he would have ever thought he would have wanted Yasmin again. You know, people are human. People make mistakes. The only thing you can do is to learn and to grow from them. And I'm so glad that by the end of the book, they did both. Uh, Once again, like I said, trigger warning, trigger warning. If you have to step away and process, please do. But try to finish the book because it's absolutely wonderful. I gave the book 4 out of 4 stars. There's another book, This Could Be Us. I'm on the wait list for that one. Not sure if that one is a little triggering, but I can't wait to read it. Um, so if you have read this book or anything like it, please comment and let me know. If you have any more suggestions, also comment. Please follow me on my TikTok and Instagram. Like, share, and subscribe. Also, like, share, and subscribe here on YouTube. And once again, like I said, I apologize for breaking down. I didn't think I was going to do it, but like I said, it was needed. Um, so until next time, thank you for visiting Robin's Reading Nest, where birds of a feather read together.